How the Change Process Begins by Jim Rohn. Success has an innate tendency to elude most people who pursue it and to be both perplexing and difficult to achieve. Success is a situation that must be attracted, not chased. Thanks to a sophisticated design of nature, we advance and receive rewards not as a result of our tireless efforts, but rather as a result of who we become, for it is ultimately who we are that decides the outcomes we draw. The fundamental tenet of Jim Rohn's concept of personal growth, achievement, and pleasure as presented in the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle is to have more. We must first become more. Our particular attitude is established by our personal philosophy. The quantity and caliber of our level of action are both influenced by our mindset. The activity results in a final, proportionate outcome, and the outcome sustains our way of life. The outcomes and way of life are the effects, the conditions we inherit. But our individual philosophy, attitude, and behavior are what actually cause the consequence in the first place. The cause must be changed in order to change the effect. Yet most people continue to support the cause while berating the consequence. Jim Rohn offers concepts and perceptions in his own manner that give those looking for a better life a singular voice of inspiration, optimism, and solutions. He gives readers who subscribe to the idea that you can have more than you've had because you can become more than you are substance and inspiration through his writing. The thoughts and words they express have a special power. Our goal, yours and mine, will be to turn these written words into thoughts and feelings that may be used to create a new life, with fresh aspirations and a renewed commitment to getting what you want and becoming who you want to be. How the change process begins. Change can be attributed to one of 2 things. The first reason we might alter is out of desperation. Our situations can sometimes spiral out of control to the point that we are so desperate for solutions that we almost give up on finding them. But what ultimately motivates us to search for solutions is this overwhelming sense of desperation. When we reach the point where we feel compelled by an urgency to find instant solutions to life's accumulated issues, desperation is the ultimate and unavoidable result of months or years of accumulated carelessness. Inspiration is the second factor that motivates us to make changes in our life. Hopefully, that is where you are right now, ready to be sufficiently moved by the message I am going to share with you to make significant and drastic changes in your life. We can find inspiration at any moment and from a variety of places. We can be moved and inspired by a song, a book, or a powerful speech. Our emotions can be evoked by the tale of someone who overcame adversity. Whatever the source, inspiration awakens in us emotions that revive hope, ambition, and tenacity. We become aware of our potential as a result of a fleeting whisper of support and certainty. When we feel a tinge of desire, our thoughts jump from one option to the next, each one promising success and happiness in the future. When inspiration strikes in this short instant, we are either moved to action or we remain motionless, willing to savor the warm feeling inside of us until, at last, the warmth departs, bringing with it the promise and the possibilities. I ask for your undivided attention and a promise to finish this book. Not just start it, wherever life finds you right now, whether responding to desperation or seeking inspiration. Our life will ultimately be assessed based on the things that we worked hard to complete rather than the ones that we only started. I have put a lot of thought into compiling these life-altering thoughts and ideas. Any human situation can be changed by the inspiration you, I hope, take away from this book. But in order for these concepts to manifest in your life, you must set aside some time in the next weeks to reflect on your life's course, think about the message, and carefully put the ideas in the pages that follow into practice. Let me start by outlining a few crucial and foundational ideas that can help you get started on the path to success and pleasure. The secret to happiness and success. The majority of the advancements we achieve in our life are always accounted for by a small number of crucial principles. These basics are what have the biggest impact on our health, happiness, and financial situation. This is not to imply that there aren't many ideas that will change our lives. There are undoubtedly many. But what I am recommending is that you start your search by concentrating on the 5 principles that we will look at in this book. These few individuals out of the many will be responsible for the majority of the outcomes you will obtain. You'll never be able to be an expert in all facets of life. Trying to control every aspect of your life will only make you frustrated. Instead, why not focus on the few things among the many that will have the biggest impact on defining the quality of your existence? These are the few things that will stand out the most. Always be on the lookout for those few things that might make the biggest difference as you search your surroundings for the secrets to living the ideal life. I can guarantee that the outcomes won't let you down if you learn these fundamentals. We all need to learn the essentials of life, the basics. Since the beginning of recorded history, which is 6,000 years ago, these have been the same secrets to pleasure and prosperity. There are no updated principles underlying human achievement. Everything else is just an activity meant to improve or build upon the same ideas, since the fundamentals are the fundamentals. Never allow oneself to stray from the tried and true guidelines that have been passed down from generation to generation in a constant stream as the cornerstones for discovering, creating, and leading the good life. The foundation of the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle is built on philosophy. The way we choose to think has a big impact on how our lives turn out. Our personal philosophy is made up of all the thoughts, ideas, and facts that circulate within the human mind. The real starting point is when our philosophy affects our habits and conduct. How our individual philosophy develops. Our own philosophical stance is shaped by what we already know and how we acquired that knowledge. Our lives are filled with input from a variety of sources. What we know comes from our homes, schools, friends, coworkers, the media, and the streets. It comes from books and the reading process. It results through listening to and observing others. There are an almost infinite number of knowledge and information sources that have influenced the development of our modern philosophy. All of the new information we encounter as adults is analyzed using the lens of our individual philosophies. Those ideas that seem to contradict our beliefs are typically immediately dismissed, while those that seem to support the conclusions we have already drawn are added to our knowledge base and used to support our existing thinking. We are continually examining new facts in light of our previous beliefs to see if they are accurate or confirmed. As we combine the new and the old, the outcome is either the affirmation of our current worldview or the expansion of it in light of fresh and important insights about life and people. Our value systems are based on the same beliefs that define our own philosophy. We have made choices about what is important to us as people based on our values. We decide to do whatever we deem to be worthwhile as the day progresses. If a person chooses to begin his day each morning at 5 in order to take what is that guy actually doing if not taking advantage of possibilities that will allow him to provide his family more of the wonderful things in life. He is acting in accordance with his philosophy's recommendations. On the other hand, someone who chooses to sleep till noon is likewise acting in a way that he values. The outcomes of the two opposing philosophies, or the assessments that people make of what is valued, will be very different. Based on the knowledge we have accumulated through the years, we all have our own opinions about the issues that have an impact on our lives. Each of us has a unique perspective on the government, education, economics, our job, and a wide range of other topics. What we consider in light of these difficulties adds. This leads us to specific conclusions about life and how it works and contributes to our developing philosophy. Our actions on any given day and under any given circumstance are then determined by the specific value judgments that these findings prompt us to make. We have all made decisions based on what we believe to be valuable, and we will continue to do so. The information we have accumulated throughout the years to develop our own philosophy determines whether the decisions we are making will drive us toward inevitable success or unavoidable failure. Personal philosophy is similar to rigging a sail. The winds of circumstance constantly blow on us as we go about our daily lives, affecting each of our lives. We've all felt the heartbreak, hopelessness, and disappointment winds swirling around us. Why, then, would every one of us, in our own unique ship of life, starting from the same place and traveling in the same direction, arrive at the goal at such dissimilar locations? Were we not all on the same sea when we sailed? Have we not all experienced the same winds of circumstance and the same choppy storms of unhappiness? The method we have decided to set our sail in life determines what leads us to various places. The main factor affecting where each of us ends up is the way we each think. The sail setting makes a big effect rather than the circumstances. Everyone experiences the same situations. Even with the best intentions and efforts, things occasionally just seem to go wrong. Events that present difficult situations are not just experienced by the underprivileged, ignorant, or needy. Both wealthy and poor families have troubled kids. Infidelity affects both wealthy and poor couples. The same problems that can cause financial collapse and personal anguish for both the wealthy and the destitute exist. In the end, it is what we decide to do after struggling to set the sail only to find, after all of our efforts, that the wind has changed direction that ultimately decides the quality of our life. The way we think and act has a much larger potential to ruin our lives than any obstacles we may encounter. Much more significant than the challenge itself is how promptly and responsibly we respond to it. The biggest struggle of life is to manage the process of our own thinking. We will finally and willingly come to the realization once we discipline ourselves to comprehend this. We must adapt when the winds change. We must once more battle to get up and reset the sail so that it will direct us in the direction of our own intentional choice. It takes the formation of an entirely new discipline to learn to reset the sail with the shifting winds rather than allowing ourselves to be blown in a direction we did not pick. It entails starting to work on developing a strong, individual philosophy that will aid in positively influencing all we do, think, and decide. If we are successful in this worthwhile quest, the course of our finances, lifestyle, interpersonal relationships, and how we feel about important things in difficult times will all alter. We may drastically modify our lives if we can change how we perceive, evaluate, and make decisions about the major challenges in life. How to form an effective personal philosophy. Circumstances won't have the biggest impact on our decision regarding what to do with tomorrow's opportunity. but rather what and how we think. What we believe and the conclusions we draw about the difficulties of life will be the culmination of everything we have learned up to this point. Our own philosophies are greatly influenced by the learning experience. We have all amassed a sizable body of information through the years. Without the information around us having an effect on the way we think, we could not survive. The human mind constantly documents and records the images and sounds in our environment. Every experience leaves an imprint on the brain's neurons. Every conversation, song, television show, book, and other spoken word has left an electrical or chemical imprint on our brains. Each idea, feeling, and activity we have experienced has led to the formation of a new circuit in the brain that is connected to all of the other circuits that were previously there. All that has impacted our lives has been irrevocably recorded, and everything we are today is the culmination of a complex network of input that the 3-pound brain's delicate network of chemical and electrical impulses has connected in a complex way. All that has ever occurred to us and all that is now our individual self, the human being, is what we call all that. Our personal philosophy is formed by how we make use of all of this knowledge and how we put it together. The issue is that a lot of the information we have gathered has led us to draw incorrect conclusions about life, which might actually prevent us from achieving our objectives. Reviewing, rewriting, and revising our individual philosophy is the only method to get rid of these mental obstacles. The greatest method to develop a fresh, potent personal philosophy is to start by critically evaluating the conclusions we have made about life. Any conclusion that doesn't support us could potentially be against us. Imagine that a man has determined that his present employment is not paying him enough, for instance. That's not fair. His value system responds, based on years' worth of acquired knowledge and experiences. He reacts to this value judgment by taking particular actions. As a result, he exerts less effort and limits his activities to those he believes his current salary supports. As long as his objective is to continue working where he is, doing what he is doing, and receiving compensation, there is nothing wrong with his decision. For the rest of his life, he will be paid what he is currently receiving. Years of accumulated false knowledge are the cause of all of our counterproductive beliefs and decisions. Simply said, we have visited the wrong places and gotten the incorrect information. We are not making poor decisions because of the knowledge we possess. Rather, the information we possess is what is leading us to make poor decisions. Unfortunately, instead of moving us closer to achieving our goals, these poor choices are pushing us further away. The value of fresh information. The only method to alter our thought patterns is to enter fresh knowledge because it is very hard to recognize and remove all of the false information from our mental processors. If we don't alter what we already know, we will continue to hold beliefs, make decisions, and take actions that are not in our best interests. Accurately obtaining the knowledge that success and enjoyment demand is crucial. Without it, we will inevitably lose our way and become blinded by our wealth, status, and power. Where can we find fresh, correct, and improved concepts and knowledge that will help us advance beyond where we are now? Thankfully, there is an abundance of helpful knowledge all around us that is just ready to be put to use. Take lessons from your own experiences. A thorough examination of our prior experiences is one of the best strategies to increase the scope of our knowledge. Each of us possesses a university of experience. Our experiences since birth have authored and arranged the books that fill the shelves of our thoughts. These experiences have led us to believe that there is a right way and a wrong way to everything we do, to every choice we make, and to every issue we face. Making mistakes is one method to learn how to do something correctly. Both success and loss can teach us something. Failure must teach us, or else success can't possibly be our reward. Failures and mistakes from the past must motivate us to change the way we act today. Otherwise, the present and the future will be little more than a carbon copy of the past. All of us have stored memories of our prior actions and the benefits or drawbacks that followed. The trick is to use our memories of prior experiences to our advantage rather than allowing them to control us via repetition. If our memories of the past, whether positive or negative, are to be helpful to us and help us improve the present and the future, we must work to ensure that they are true. In order to improve our present behavior based on the lessons of our own history, we must think back on the events of the past, relive the feelings, and consider the lessons learned. We are on a path to repeat past mistakes and experience issues from the present if we have distorted the facts about the past and have a tendency to blame others rather than ourselves. Discover from outside voices. All of us may benefit from some coaching. That is, in a way, the aim of this work. It offers a fresh, unbiased perspective to individuals looking for information and inspiration. While each of us is capable of fixing our own mistakes, there is frequently significant value in hearing from someone else who can offer an unbiased assessment of how we are doing and what we are thinking, as well as the prospective effects of those actions on a better future. We will be able to see things that we do not see if someone else, whose judgment we value, provides an objective assessment, while the capable and objective buddy is more likely to perceive the forest. We often just notice the trees in our own little world. In order to avoid having to take advice from someone who doesn't care due to life's circumstances, we should discipline ourselves to only listen to those who care. Successful CEOs frequently seek the outside perspective of consultants in the corporate sector. Employees of a company may become so accustomed to the current issue that they lose the ability to see the solution that rests on their shoulders. Every one of us needs to make sure we have a trusted friend or group of friends we can come to for advice when the winds have changed so frequently we're unsure if we're still on course. Others can assist us. Objectivity can help us gain early and correct knowledge about ourselves and our decision-making process when it comes in the form of good advice from someone we respect and trust. It can stop us from drawing incorrect judgments as a result of being accustomed to our surroundings. To evaluate our behavior critically to make sure that we haven't strayed too far from the essentials. Discover failure lessons from others' failures. Numerous opportunities for learning are provided by other individuals and their unique experiences. 2 excellent informational resources, 2 distinct mentalities, and 2 categories of people with comparable experiences but strikingly different outcomes are all available through the experiences of others. Representatives of both groups are present in our daily lives. Every group has its own target audience and influences those who choose to listen. However, both sources are significant. One is meant to be a lesson to be learned from, while the other is meant to be a warning to be studied but not imitated. We should all learn from our mistakes. It is a component of both the world's and life's experiences. Why is it important to research failures? So that we can discover what to avoid doing. Every encounter has the potential to educate us, if we apply what we learn from the material to improve our own life, for fear of picking up their bad habits and ultimately repeating their regrettable choices. Some people advise that relationships with people who have failed to make the most of their prospects and lives should be avoided at all costs. To paraphrase a wise person, those who fail to learn from their mistakes in the past will inevitably make the same ones again. If we choose to disregard historical lessons, regardless of their source, we risk succumbing to the process of trial and error. By rejecting the lessons of history, we will unavoidably be tested by our own struggles and finally destroyed by our own mistakes. Perhaps it is sad that those that fail do not share their lessons with others. If we had more opportunities to learn from the bad things that have happened to other people, we might be able to prevent disaster from happening to us. Study other people's successes. It is worthwhile to make a study of those who succeed, no matter how much time or money is required. Assemble concepts and knowledge from all of the sources that are available. Consult the books, the seminars, please. Spend some time learning the skills needed for success. Investigate the routines, speech, attire, and disciplines of the successful. The numerous quotation books that are sold in bookstores are one of the best places to find advice from successful people. We can learn more about the ideas that motivated the lives of those who were great enough, persuasive enough, influential enough, and successful enough to be mentioned simply by reading what the greatest among us have had to say. Take advantage of positive influence's power. Every one of us ought to be on the lookout for people we can look up to and respect, people we can model some of our own behavior after. A large portion of who and what we are right now is a synthesis of the numerous people over the years have influenced us. Our idols as children were frequently fictional characters, movie stars, and well-known singers. For a while, we strove to act, look, and even speak like our heroes. Our imitation of others lessened as we got older and started to become our own distinct identities. But the effect was still there. We are never beyond the reach of influence, regardless of our age or situation. The secret is to seek out exceptional people whose traits stimulate, captivate, and motivate us and then work to emulate their greatest traits. Great projects are always constructed based on a model or plan. The intentional development of our own lives is the greatest endeavor of our lifetime. Therefore, if we are to develop and advance, we each need a blueprint, something or someone to model ourselves after. Everyone has an impact over us. It is far preferable to actively select the people we will allow to affect us than to allow the power of the wrong influence to weave its impact on us without our knowledge or conscious choice. This is because this influence will, to some part, define the path of our lives. Learn to listen well. Being a good listener in the modern world is difficult. There are so many voices competing for our attention, and each one has a unique message and appeal. Learning the art of selective listening is one of the finest methods to handle this significant difficulty. Selective listening is similar to turning the radio dial to the station we find most interesting. We listen for a moment or two while we turn the dial, and then, depending on what we just heard, we either continue searching or stop calling. We must pause to consider the message whenever a voice shouts for our attention. We must train ourselves to move on if the message is simplistic or uninformed, so that the stupid and superficial message does not have an impact on us. We must press the scan switch and switch to the next speaker. Every sound we hear is being stored in our brain's neural networks as new connections. We may listen to some voices for a while out of curiosity, But we must be extremely careful about how long we listen if the voice is not helping us achieve our goals. Only when we have discovered a reliable source of knowledge should we allow the message to have an impact on us in order to enhance who and what we currently are. Effective communication is one of the most important qualities of a leader, and we can only learn how to communicate effectively once we have mastered the art of listening. The practice of listening gives us the chance to learn more and become more valuable. On the other hand, speaking is the act of putting all, or little, that we have learned on show. Before we can truly impact others with our spoken words, we must first learn the art of listening. Listening to our kids is the best method to figure out what to say to them. We ought to read the literature that they are reading and familiarize ourselves with the messages that they are getting from various sources. It will be easier for us to communicate with our children about what is valuable if we pay attention to the information that is getting to them. This will also make us more aware of how our children make decisions. Read every book. There are already all the books we will ever need to become as wealthy, healthy, happy, powerful, sophisticated, and successful as we desire. People from all walks of life and with some of the most extraordinary life experiences have taken the time to write down their stories so that we can benefit from their wealth of knowledge. These people have gone from nothing to a fortune and from failure to success. They have made their knowledge and expertise available so that we may benefit from it, learn from it, and be inspired by it should change our philosophy. We can adjust our course based on their contributions and experiences. They gave us the gift of their wisdom so that we may, if necessary, alter our plans to prevent their mistakes. Based on their insightful counsel, we might arrange our lives differently. The knowledge that we might ever require has already been written about by others. The crucial query is this: how many books have we read in the past 90 days with this gold mine of knowledge that might improve our lives, our fortunes, our relationships, our health, our children, and our careers? Why don't we read the books that have the power to alter our lives? Why do we grumble but do nothing? Why do so many of us decry the result while supporting the cause? How can we account for the reality that just 3% of the people in our country have library cards, which would provide us access to all the solutions to success and pleasure we could ever need? Those who desire a better life cannot allow themselves to miss the books that may have a significant influence on their future. The missing book won't be of any assistance, and the cost of books is not the problem. Wait until he has to pay the price for not buying the book if he decides the cost of buying it is too high. Wait till he is charged for his ongoing and protracted ignorance. Between someone who is unable to read and someone who refuses to read, there is not much difference. Ignorance is the outcome in any case. The self-imposed restrictions on their reading abilities and reading habits must be lifted by those who are sincere about their quest for personal growth. Numerous classes on reading comprehension are offered, and there are countless volumes ready to be read on the shelves of public libraries. For individuals who want to excel above the norm, reading is crucial. Nothing should stand in our way of reading the book that has the power to transform our lives. A small amount of reading every day will yield a plethora of useful knowledge in a very short amount of time. But if we don't make the time, don't pick up the book, and don't practice the discipline, ignorance will step in and swiftly fill the hole. People who want a better life must first improve as individuals. They must constantly work on self-mastery in order to form a well-rounded philosophy of life, then live by the rules set out by that philosophy. The creation of a strong philosophical basis begins with the habit of reading. It is one of the foundational elements needed to achieve success and happiness. Keep an individual journal. Keeping a personal journal is a significant discipline that will aid us in our ongoing quest for knowledge and understand and enable us to record the information present in our environment so that the future will be better than the present. A journal serves as a repository for all of our life-related observations and learnings. The experiences, thoughts, desires, and judgments about the people and events that have impacted our life are captured in our own handwritten transcript, which is recounted in our own words. A journal offers us two extraordinary advantages. First of all, it enables us to record every detail of the present moment for later evaluation. The things that happen in our lives, experiences we have and learn from, should not just happen. Instead, they should be recorded so that the lessons we gain from them can be used in the future. One of the best resources for helping us make wise choices today that will result in a better tomorrow is the past, if it has been adequately documented. While it is true that the brain records every occurrence, we sometimes are unable to instantly access the details of those events. Over time, the details frequently get distorted or blurry. We might recall the result, but we might not remember the precise order of the activities or the choices that were taken. We face the risk of repeatedly making many of the same mistakes without correct knowledge to help us remember the past. Without a notebook, those significant occasions, those emotional and experiential turning points, would be carried away by the winds of our own forgetting and buried in the recesses of our memories, where their significance will be permanently gone. Without being recorded in a notebook, the emotion of that unique occasion will quickly dissipate. We might remember the incident, but we won't feel anything. The second advantage of journaling is that the process of writing about our lives encourages us to consider our choices more critically. Information flow typically slows down when writing is involved. We have time to reflect and evaluate the experience as we pause to collect our thoughts about an event we are attempting to capture on paper. We get a better understanding of the information we received, the information that informed our decisions, and the actions we are taking in response to our beliefs. In other words, when putting our life on paper, not only the event but also our own personal philosophy are subject to close examination. And it is because of this thorough examination that we are able to make philosophical adjustments that are actually life-altering. Keeping a journal requires discipline, which improves our communication skills. We can more effectively explain not only our thoughts but also the intrinsic value that lies within us the more we practice expressing events and emotions with language. The fact that some of the nation's most powerful leaders' personal journals preserved the events of that tragic day when President Kennedy was slain is an intriguing truth. Many people sat in silence, writing down their visceral memories of the tragedy as Air Force One carried the dead president's body from Dallas to Washington. It was one of those uncommon occasions where history was actually recorded at the time rather of just being conjectured by historians in the past. Later, William Manchester's The Death of a President, one of the greatest historical works ever written, was based on that collection of documented stories. The majority of successful men and women keep and frequently read their personal journals. They do it naturally to them. They appear to be born with the instinct that a life worth living is a life worth recording. In fact, developing a deliberate and consistent journal writing habit may be a key factor in their ascent to above-average levels of success. Small disciplines are what lead to big achievements. When regular people take time and care to address pressing issues, time will eventually bring about their own rise to greatness. Small rules and minor errors in judgment frequently occur. Accumulate the former for our advantage and the latter against us. Success and failure don't happen all at once in a cataclysm. Both are the outcome of a lifetime's worth of seemingly minor and small decisions that, when added together, culminate in the individual receiving their just due. The keeping of a journal or not keeping one is not necessary for success, yet keeping one is an integral part of the philosophical life puzzle. The diary must be ignored if the mystery is to ever be fully solved. Our lives must be worth more than a birth certificate, a gravestone, and $500,000 in consumable goods and services in between those significant life events. Journals are the instruments that allow us to record the specifics of our successes as well as the development of our lives, allowing us to become more than we otherwise may have been in the process. Our country is quickly turning into one of passive intellects. Our inability to read and write well is causing us to develop increasingly erratic thought patterns. If we have any doubts, we only need to consider how many of our loved ones use drugs, how many of our people commit violent or white-collar crimes, and how many of our kids quit school. Bad thinking processes, poor morals, poor choices. Furthermore, if this pattern continues, we might soon become a third-class power. Until we start paying more attention to the necessities of life, we cannot grow as a nation. The growing importance of the person is what makes it possible to build more effective leadership in our government, schools, churches, businesses, and communities. Because of this, each of us needs to commit to realizing our full potential as individuals, one discipline, one book, and one tiny entry in our journals at a time. Only by adopting a personal philosophy can we make a difference in both our own lives and those around us. The method of making decisions. Every time we are presented with a fresh concept, we inadvertently balance it on our mental scales to decide how much action we should take. Ideas that score highly on our scale get immediate attention, while those that score poorly get little to no attention at all. Our ideology will eventually define what amount of action we deem to be appropriate. Many of our judgments could steer us away from success rather than toward it if we haven't gathered enough information or haven't refined or added to the knowledge we already have. It is crucial for us to look more closely at our decision-making process if we have a tendency to spend a lot of time or even money on unimportant things. There are many people in the world whose choices will end their prospects of achievement. People who don't adhere to a sound philosophy frequently complete tasks that they ought to have left undone. What they ought to have done. They do not create priorities or goals. They waver back and forth between choices. They have an understanding that they ought to be acting, but they lack the discipline to put this awareness into practice. We encounter dozens of personal crossroads throughout the course of each day, times when we must decide on both trivial and large issues. It is crucial to keep in mind that every decision we make during these moments of decision-making traces a route to a specific objective. Our present circumstances are the result of a combination of our past choices, just as the choices we make now will determine whether we reap rewards or regrets in the future. Choices, decisions, selections. Each gives us the chance to choose how good our future will be. Each of them calls for forward planning for the decision that needs to be made. The knowledge we have gained and the attitude we have formed based on this knowledge will either help us or harm us in those moments of decision. Because of this, we must always be getting ready for the unexpected encounter with crucial decisions. We are able to regularly make sensible decisions only when we have carefully prepared our minds. What we believe affects what we select. What we choose defines who we are, and who we are attracts what we have. Our thoughts decide what we believe, which influences what we choose. If we're not satisfied with how our prior choices have gotten us where we are now, then where do we begin? Our existing way of thinking. We will start to hone our ideology as we gain fresh information. Our decisions will alter as our beliefs do. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Making sound decisions requires the development of a sound philosophy. Like an architect, we need to have the ability to see the end outcome we want to attain before setting about laying a strong foundation to sustain it. The decisions necessary to finish the building are simple to make and smart after the vision has been clearly defined and the foundation has been solidly laid. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for more.